I called to say happy birthday to my grandson. My daughter said, "He's busy. Don't call again unless you're dying." Her husband took the phone and added, "Even then, text first." I sat there with the gift still wrapped in my lap. The next day, I mailed them something that forced a family meeting they never expected. My name is Donna. I'm 68, a widow, and I live alone in a quiet neighborhood near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I've been alone for 6 years now since my husband George passed. Some days I still forget and reach across the bed to where he used to sleep. That part never really stops. My daughter, Megan, is my only child. She lives about 40 minutes away in a nicer suburb with her husband, Aaron, and their son, Jackson. My grandson. He just turned 11. I've always loved that boy like he was my second chance. After Megan moved out and started her life, it was like this giant hole opened up in mine. Jackson helped fill it. I was there when he was born. I changed diapers, I held him through fevers, I rocked him to sleep while Megan cried in the shower after those brutal newborn nights. I gave and never kept score. Until now. Jackson's birthday was last week. I picked out his gift a month ago. It was one of those big Lego sets, the NASA Artemis rocket, because I knew how obsessed he was with space and planets. I wrapped it myself. I even got a special card with a pop-up Earth that I thought he'd like. I wrote a note inside that said, "Happy birthday, Jackson. Reach for the stars. Love, Nana." I planned to call him that morning to wish him a happy birthday. Just a short call. I wasn't expecting a whole conversation. I knew he'd be busy with friends or school, but I just wanted him to hear my voice, hear that I remembered, and cared. That was all. So I called around 10:15 a.m. Megan answered. She didn't even say hello like normal. She just sounded annoyed right away. "What?" she said. I paused. "Hey, Megan. I just wanted to say happy birthday to Jackson. Is he around?" She sighed like I'd asked her for money. "He's busy. Don't call again unless you're dying." I thought I misheard her. I asked, "Excuse me?" And then I heard a second voice on the line, Aaron. He must have picked up on another phone. He said, "Even then, text first." Then they both hung up. That was it. The line went dead. I sat there for a long time with the wrapped gift in my lap. My tea had gone cold. I didn't move. My ears were ringing a little. It was like my body couldn't catch up with what just happened. I'd been disrespected before. I'd been ignored, forgotten, talked over. But that was something different. That was a line being drawn. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just stared at the phone, then at the gift. I could still hear Aaron's voice in my head, "Even then, text first." Like my life didn't matter unless I was dying. And even then, it would be an inconvenience. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table and thought about all the things I'd done for Megan. I raised her mostly on my own while George worked nights. I made her Halloween costumes by hand. I paid for her first car. I took out a loan when she and Aaron wanted a dream wedding. I helped cover Jackson's hospital bills when he broke his arm and they didn't have insurance. I let Aaron crash in our house for 3 months after his landscaping business went under. They always said, "Thank you, sure." But they never remembered. Not really. They treated my kindness like background noise. Like it was owed to them. Well, they'd remember now. The next morning, I pulled out my old records. I've always been the type to keep receipts. It's just who I am. I had folders with copies of checks, Venmo screenshots, emails confirming payments, everything. Over 15 years of quiet support. Over $127,000 worth. I put it all together in a neat packet. Then I wrote a letter to go with it. Since you made it clear I shouldn't call unless I'm dying, I figured I'd write while I'm still alive. Enclosed is a record of every dollar I gave you over the last 15 years. I'm not asking for it back. I just want Jackson to know the truth one day. That when things got hard, Nana helped you stand on your feet. And you kicked her back down. P.S. The Lego rocket is going to a foster shelter. There's a boy there who still knows how to say thank you. I mailed it express. Signature required. I also included one extra copy of the letter, addressed to Aaron's parents. Because I knew for a fact they had no idea how often I bailed those two out. They thought Megan and Aaron built that house on their own. I was happy to clear that up. They didn't respond right away. But I knew it landed. On day 3, Megan called early in the morning. I let it ring. Then she texted. Then Aaron called. I didn't answer. At noon, they showed up at my door. Megan looked like she hadn't slept. Aaron stayed in the car. She was holding the packet. Her first words were, "What the hell is this?" I said, "That's my voice. Since I'm not allowed to use the phone." She said, "You sent this to Aaron's parents?" I said, "I sent it to everyone who should know the truth." She looked stunned. Like it never occurred to her that I could fight back. That I wouldn't just sit there with the gift in my lap and cry quietly like she expected. She started to argue. Something about privacy, about family business, about how I went too far. I stopped her. "You told me not to call unless I was dying," I said. "So this is me dying, to the version of me who kept quiet and swallowed it all." Then I shut the door. And that was just the beginning. Because I still had one more folder. And they weren't ready for what was inside that one. After I closed the door, I leaned against it and finally let myself cry. Not just over what they said, but over all the years I'd allowed it to happen. All the times I'd smiled through the little slaps. The comments, the cold shoulders, the way they slowly cut me out while still reaching for my wallet. I wasn't just mourning a birthday phone call. I was mourning the truth about my daughter. Later that day, I opened the last folder. The one with the power to ruin them. Inside was a copy of something they probably forgot I had. The co-signed loan documents from the time Aaron's business went under. Megan had begged me. She'd said, "We just need your signature. We'll take care of the rest. We're adults now." It was for $32,000. He needed it to relaunch after his second failed landscaping company. Spoiler, he didn't. He used the money to buy a truck and 2 weeks later claimed the tools were stolen. Insurance didn't pay out. The loan defaulted. Guess who got stuck with it? I paid it off. And then I never mentioned it again. Until now. I made copies of that folder too. And this time I didn't just send them to family. I sent them to the private school Jackson was enrolled in. Why? Because on their financial aid forms, Megan and Aaron claimed they had no outside support. No gifts or assistance from family. That's what they wrote under penalty of perjury. But the documents I sent showed over $100,000 in non-reported help. Specifically used to help cover mortgage, car payments, medical costs, and tuition. The school has strict policies about financial fraud. I didn't even need to make a call. The papers did the talking. 3 days after that, I got a call from the school administrator. She said, "Ms. Langley, we received some documents related to one of our students. Are you willing to confirm your involvement in the payments mentioned?" I said yes. Clear as day. Every one of them. That same evening, Megan came back. This time she didn't knock. She pounded. I opened the door just far enough to hear her scream. "You got Jackson kicked out of school." I stayed calm. "I didn't." "You did. When you lied." "You're sick," she snapped. "You're destroying your own family." I said, "No. You destroyed it the second you made me feel like a burden." Then Aaron got out of the car and started walking toward the porch. He tried to play it cool, but his face was red. He said, "You think you won something here? We'll cut you off. You'll never see Jackson again." I smiled. "You already made that decision." On his birthday. A week later, I got a letter from a lawyer. They were trying to file a cease and desist. Said I was interfering with their privacy. That I was harassing the family. But here's the thing, I had every receipt. Every transfer. Every check. Every message asking for help. Their names, their signatures, their bank accounts. It wasn't harassment. It was evidence. I handed it all to my own lawyer, one I hired with the money I was planning to leave Jackson one day. Instead, I put it in a new trust. One with conditions. Jackson could have it, but only when he turned 18, and only after he spent 1 full year living outside their house. I added one more clause. If Megan or Aaron tried to challenge the trust, it would be dissolved and the funds would go to the local community college for single mothers trying to rebuild their lives. It was time someone else got a second chance. But that wasn't the worst hit for Megan and Aaron. That came next. Because someone else found out what they'd been doing. And it wasn't me who told them. A few weeks went by. I didn't reach out. I didn't respond to texts. I just lived my life. Quiet mornings with tea. Walks in the park. I started going to the senior center again, something I hadn't done since George passed. I didn't talk about what happened, but somehow, the silence felt less lonely now. Then one afternoon, I got a phone call from an unknown number. Normally I don't answer those. But something told me to. "Hello?" A woman's voice, sharp and nervous. "Hi. Is this Donna Langley?" "Yes. This is Tracy Devereaux. I'm Aaron's ex-wife." I froze. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said quickly. "I got your number from my cousin, she lives in Harrisburg, and apparently this story's been floating around the school district grapevine. I needed to talk to you. It's about Jackson. And about Megan. I didn't know Aaron had an ex-wife. He never mentioned it, and Megan sure didn't. Tracy told me they were married back when he was in his mid-20s. She said they had a daughter together. A daughter named Kelsey. Then came the bombshell. He walked out when Kelsey was 3, Tracy said. He said he couldn't handle being a dad. No money, no job, nothing. And for years, he didn't pay a dime in support. Claimed he was unemployed. Said he was couch surfing. Then suddenly, he's married again, living in a big house, posting photos of Jackson on Facebook like he's father of the year. My stomach turned. I just wanted you to know, she said, because you seem like the only one doing the right thing. I asked if I could help her somehow. She hesitated. Then said quietly, would you be willing to talk to my lawyer? If Aaron's been hiding income through Megan's name or yours, it could change my custody case. I said yes. That same week, I handed over everything to Tracy's lawyer, copies of the checks, emails where Aaron asked me to write things in Megan's name, proof that he'd been living comfortably while telling his ex he was broke. By the end of that month, Tracy filed for back child support. $23,000 worth. And thanks to the records I gave her, the judge approved a wage garnishment on Aaron's current consulting income, which turned out to be coming from a shady landscaping LLC he registered under Megan's name last year. The same LLC they used to write off Jackson's tuition and their kitchen remodel. It didn't end there. The IRS got a report too. An anonymous one. Not from me, of course. But the timing was interesting. And that's when everything really started to fall apart. Aaron's parents stopped speaking to them after I sent them a polite update about the child support case. Megan's influencer deals dried up. Apparently a PTA mom found the court documents and passed them around to sponsors. They took Jackson out of private school and put him in public, saying it was for a more grounded experience, but everyone knew the truth. And still, they never apologized. Not once. They just kept getting angrier. More desperate. And then Megan did something I never expected. She showed up again. But not at my house. This time, she showed up at my church. I hadn't been to church in a long time, not regularly anyway. But after everything that happened, I found myself going again on Sunday mornings. I didn't go to pray or ask for answers, I just went to sit among people who didn't want anything from me. People who smiled and said my name. It was a cold morning in February when she walked in. Megan. Her hair was a mess, her face blotchy like she'd been crying, but her eyes were sharp, like daggers. She walked straight down the aisle while the choir was still singing and sat right next to me like it was normal. People stared. I didn't move. She waited until the service ended before saying anything. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I looked her straight in the eyes. "Here's fine." She glanced around. "Mom, please, not here." I said, "You brought it here." She stared at her hands. "We're losing everything." I didn't say a word. She went on. "Aaron's being investigated. Jackson doesn't understand why people treat us different now. The parents won't let their kids come over. We're not invited to anything. He asks why you hate us." I swallowed hard. I don't hate Jackson. I've never hated him. I still send him letters. You throw them away, don't you? She didn't answer. Then she said something I'll never forget. "He found one. The first one. The one you sent with the money records." He read it. My heart dropped. "What did he say?" I asked. Her eyes filled up. He asked why we lied to him. That hit me harder than anything else. That poor boy, being used like a shield and a pawn by his parents. Realizing the truth piece by piece. That Nana didn't just vanish. That mom and dad weren't honest. I stood up. "You came here for sympathy. But you're still lying. You're still protecting Aaron. And the longer you do, the more Jackson will see it. I tried to be part of your family. I gave more than I had. And you told me not to call unless I was dying. Well, congrats. That old version of me is dead." Then I left her there, sitting in that pew alone while the next service started. A few months passed. I kept my distance. Then one afternoon, I got a letter. From Jackson. Not from Megan. It was a plain white envelope, sloppy handwriting, misspelled words. He wrote it himself. It said, "Dear Nana, I found your letter in the kitchen drawer." I read all of it. "I didn't know you helped us that much. I'm sorry I didn't say thank you. I miss you. Can I still visit you sometimes even if Mom and Dad are mad? I don't care about the Legos. I just want to talk. Love, Jackson." I cried hard that day. And for the first time in a long time, I cried from hope. I didn't go running back to fix things. I didn't try to play peacemaker. I stayed firm. I met Jackson once a month at the library downtown. Megan didn't like it, but there wasn't anything she could legally do to stop it. Jackson was old enough now to make his own choices. Each time, he came with more questions. And every time, I told him the truth. Bit by bit. Aaron eventually got charged with tax fraud. Tracy's lawyers had a field day with the business filings I helped uncover. He ended up with a suspended sentence and a fat stack of fines he couldn't afford. Megan filed for separation the next year. Not because she took responsibility, but because she wanted to distance herself from the mess. But it was too late. Her momfluencer brand was dead. Nobody wanted to sponsor a woman with a financial fraud scandal attached to her name. They sold the house at a loss. Moved into a rental half the size. Megan went back to work part-time at a boutique. Aaron started driving for Uber. Jackson stayed quiet through it all. Then, just before he turned 13, he asked if he could spend the summer with me. I said yes. That summer was the best I'd felt in years. We cooked together, worked in the garden, watched old black and white movies. He asked about his grandfather. I showed him photos. He asked about the fights. I told him what I could without putting hate in his heart. One night, I asked, "Do you blame me for anything?" He nodded slowly. A little. For not saying something sooner. That cut deep. But he was right. Maybe I should have stood up earlier. Maybe I let too much slide for too long. Maybe I was so afraid of losing them, I let myself be used like a bank that never closed. So I told him, "You're right. And I'm sorry." He smiled and said, "It's okay. You fixed it now." Now he's 17. And you know what? He still comes every summer. He still writes letters. And next year, when he turns 18, the trust will be his, if he still wants it. Megan never apologized. Not really. She sends birthday cards again now, but they're hollow. We don't talk much. But I sleep well. Because I know I didn't stay silent. I didn't go down quietly. And in the end, the truth didn't just burn bridges, it lit the way forward.